How the U.S. military spends $800 billion per year on war machines. One of the most significant aspects that influence not just the United States' defense strategy but also its economic priorities is the fact that the United States maintains one of the largest military budgets in the world. When the ramifications of this large investment are understood, it is possible to gain insights into the long-term impact that it will have on the future of the country. It is for this reason that we would like to discuss the unexpected facts regarding the spending of the United States military that you ought to be aware of. The budget for the United States military is enormous. The United States military budget is unsurpassed in terms of its sheer size. The United States of America allotted $820.3 billion, which is equivalent to 13% of the yearly federal budget to the national defense budget in 2023. This amount is so large that it surpasses the combined military expenditures of many other countries. The following are some of the expenses that are covered by this enormous financial commitment: the costs of operations, staff members, developments in technological ability, presence of war around the world. It is important to note that the magnitude of spending is a reflection of the nation's priority on preserving its worldwide military superiority. Yet, it also raises questions about the equilibrium between defense expenditures and other areas of public interest, such as the following: the infrastructure, the education of healthcare. The funding, on the other hand, is not exclusively allocated for conventional military uses. The substantial investments in defense provide the United States with the flexibility to respond quickly to global conflicts or threats. Nevertheless, the question of whether or not these investments can be sustained is still being debated. Long-term economic trade-offs. In spite of the fact that it helps to maintain national security, the budget for the military results in economic trade-offs that have an impact on other areas. Education and learning. Medical care. The energy that is recycled. The effect reduces the possibility of greater economic development and diversification, both of which have the ability to encourage innovation and growth over the long run, respectively. Moreover, the amount of employment that is created by spending on the military is lower than it was in the past. In terms of employment creation, its effectiveness has been weakened as a result of automation and outsourcing. This would result in the creation of additional jobs and would help the expansion of the economy as a whole if investments were made in civilian industries like infrastructure and renewable energy. The United States would be able to construct a more robust and adaptable economic foundation if funding were allocated to these areas. This would ensure that the country would experience sustainable growth and reduce its reliance on industries tied to defense. Spending on defense has been increasing historically. Over several decades, the United States defense budget has experienced substantial expansion, the spending drastically growing since the year 1980. The Stimson Center reports that it has increased by 50% since the beginning of the 21st century. The proportion of the federal budget that is given to defense has fluctuated over time, reaching its highest point during times of heightened conflict and steadily declining in recent years. Even though the United States continues to spend more on defense than any other nation, this proportion has fluctuated over time. The overall trend has been an upward trajectory, driven by evolving global threats and the desire to preserve strategic superiority. This is occurring despite the fact that there has been some variation. Nevertheless, there is still a considerable amount of anxiety regarding the long-term viability of such high levels of military investment. Emphasis should be placed on certain geopolitical dangers. The defense budget for 2024 is intended to meet particular geopolitical risks, which is reflective of the shifting environment of global security. When it comes to opposing the growing military presence of China, deterring potential assaults on U.S. partners, and addressing threats from cyber attacks, which have become an increasing worry in the modern period, the RAND Corporation identifies these as three of the most important concerns: Russia, Iran, the North Korean government. The changing character of military strategy in the 21st century is illustrated by the fact that particular threats are being prioritized. The United States of America is broadening its military strategy to include cybersecurity, technical developments, and new areas of combat. Previously, the United States had only focused on conventional warfare. The proportion of GDP that is falling. It is anticipated that the proportion of the United States gross domestic product that is allocated to military spending will decrease over the course of the following 10 years, reaching a level of 2.5% in the year 2034. Despite the fact that the defense sector will continue to be a top priority, the trend suggests that it will consume a lesser proportion of the nation's total national economic output. The proportion of the gross domestic product that is allocated to defense spending has increased over time, particularly during times of increased conflict. However, the predicted decline in defense spending by GDP raises questions regarding the sustainability of current expenditure levels and whether changes need to be made in reaction to future economic conditions. Specifically, the question is whether or not adjustments are even necessary. It is imperative that the United States strikes a delicate balance between its defense priorities, economic growth, and the costs of domestic spending. Because of this problem, strategic planning is required in order to guarantee that the nation's security will continue to be strong, while also allowing for expenditures in areas that assist in maintaining long-term financial stability. There are more jobs available in other industries. Since it reached its highest point in the 1980s, the job market that is related to military spending has experienced a significant reduction. The rise of automation and outsourcing has led to a significant decrease in employment in industries associated with the production of nuclear weapons. Consequently, as a result of this drop, military spending is no longer the powerful driver of employment creation that it once was. It is possible that redistributing funding to industries such as technology, green energy, and infrastructure might result in the creation of additional employment possibilities, which would contribute to the expansion of the economy as a whole. When compared to investments in the military sector, expenditures in civilian businesses often result in the creation of a greater number of employment for every dollar spent. On the other hand, environmentally friendly technologies, for instance, require a greater amount of labor, but they also provide long-term rewards in terms of innovation and sustainability. The United States of America significantly outspends its allies. The United States' spending on defense creates a striking disparity when compared to that of its close allies. The fact that it invests more in defense than all of the other members of NATO combined demonstrates the preeminent role it plays in international military matters. The United States of America is responsible for 53% of the total GDP of the allies combined, a total of 67% of the total defense expenditures. Due to the excessive spending, criticisms have been raised regarding the distribution of responsibility within foreign defense alliances, as well as the financial weight that is imposed on the United States. Despite the fact that this level of spending makes it possible for the United States to keep a military presence across the world, it also raises questions about whether or not other countries ought to raise their contributions to collective defense. In addition to reflecting the United States' global leadership role, the discrepancy in defense spending is also a reflection of the diverse strategic interests of the United States' neighbors. The difficult issue of striking a balance between the requirements of national security and the need for global collaboration will continue to be a factor in the formation of defense strategy in the years to come. Are you curious about the perks of joining the National Guard? Get a look at our comprehensive guide to find out how long you need to serve to qualify. A summary. There are considerable economic trade-offs and long-term issues associated with the United States military budget, even though it is important for national security. The approach for striking a balance between defense and other urgent domestic objectives needs to be updated in tandem with the evolution of geopolitical challenges. Enjoy the content? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below.